Hi guys, welcome back to Mythical Creature Comforts. As you can tell, we're going to be playing around with locations and lighting until we get the perfect blend. It's very difficult, you have no idea. Alright, and today, as promised, we are covering Wendigos. Now, I am by no means an expert on this subject. In fact, I had to do a little bit of research, and I know what you're thinking, that I said every 2 weeks, and it's only been 1 week, but there wasn't a whole lot. There was a decent amount, but there wasn't a whole lot of stuff to go through for the Wendigo, and I think I'm only going to talk about the things that I've actually seen myself, which means these terrifying beasts are in a few movies that I have not seen, and I apologize for it, but at the same time, nightmares are not my thing. Moving on. So, there are about 25 different ways of spelling Wendigo, depending on which Native American tribe was using it. I probably used the wrong word there, but you know what I meant. All kinds. The most common two, though, are Wendigo with an E and Wendigo with an I. As you can see, I used the E in the opening credit. Backing up and going right back into the folklore. So, Wendigos originated actually in Algonquin folklore. And essentially what they are is a mythical cannibal or evil spirit. From what I've been able to see, it seems like the stories of the Wendigo originated in the northern forests of the Great Lakes, Canada, and U.S., up north. Basically, the colder you got, the more likely you were to hear these stories. Now, the monster itself appears in, from what I've read and researched, in two forms. You have either the beast as long legs, all kinds of weirdness going on, scrawny, skinny, deer head, antlers, or you have them in looking more like an emaciated human. I actually found a quote of someone describing what Wendigos are supposed to look like, and we're going to get to that in a minute. So, you have basically the two forms. You either have a human who became a Wendigo or a Wendigo that's possessed a human. Which is a fun little thing, isn't it? They are associated most strongly with cannibalism, murder, greed, various cultural taboos, also with winter, the north, coldness, famine, that kind of thing. So Basil Johnson, who was an Ojibwe teacher and scholar, and I apologize if I mispronounced that horribly, we're just going to have to deal with it. And he describes the Wendigo as a gaunt to the point of emaciation, its desiccated skin pulled tightly over its bones. With its bones punching out against its skin, its complexion the ash gray of death, and its eyes pushed back and deep into their sockets. The Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton recently I'm going to say removed because I can't read my own handwriting from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody. Then there's a skip section. Unclean and suffering from suppurations of the flesh. The Wendigo gave off a strange, eerie odor of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption. I got that from Wikipedia. Don't judge me. So, that is a description from someone that they've given. From other sources that I've been able to gather, they're often described as giants. They're seen as, after they've consumed a person, it would then grow in proportion to the size of the person it just ate, so it's constantly hungry. the gluttonous thing. And yet, even though it is portrayed as gluttonous, they're always seen as basically emaciated, skeletal. Like, still has flesh, but you can count the ribs and probably play a marimba on them. They are the embodiment of gluttony and greed and excess. They're never satisfied after killing and consuming, that kind of thing. Lovely little monster. So, a couple of YouTube videos that I watched said that the Wendigo is also susceptible to silver. Like, you can injure, the only way to kill it is with silver. They implied a silver blade. I have not actually been able to find any reference to that in anything else but their videos. And a movie we're going to get to in a minute. Now, for pop culture references, which is basically books, movies, video games at the Wendigo is surprisingly, given how terrifying this thing is, absent. Well, not wholly absent. He's been on quite a few I specify it's a dude. Whatever. The Wendigo has been on several shows, usually associated with the supernatural, like the show Supernatural. In fact, it was, I believe, season 1, episode 2 of Supernatural, and in the gender-bending Supernatural, they also did it on season 1, season 2, or episode 2, which makes sense since it's a gender bend thing. They're going in order. I have not actually seen the gender bend one. I'm pretty sure I saw the Supernatural one. They were on episode 1, season 12 of Charmed. About 15 different movies actually called Wendigo. The most recent one with just the name Wendigo, let me check my notes here, was 2001. Although I think they actually have one in production that's in the next couple years they're going to come out with, because it says 2019, but we all know that stuff gets pushed back all the time. All kinds of stuff. Oh, no, I was wrong. Wendigo Bound by Blood was 2010. I have notes. Let's see. The Wendigo was, we saw him in comic books with the Hulk and Iron Man and all them lovely gents. This is a terrifying creature. I regret making this the first one. I regret the jar telling me I had to make the first one. Now, it was also the movies. Oh, right. I've been told very specifically that I have to mention them because they're really good, even though I have not seen them. But the movies, Ravenous from 1999, apparently. That's a really good movie with the Wendigos in it. I'm a chicken shit, so I'm not going to actually go and watch it because I'm a chicken shit. I'm not going to lie. For the most part, they get brief mentions in a lot of things. Now, when it comes to video games, there is one video game that I've watched YouTube Let's Plays in because I'm not into horror games either, really. Nothing that's actually going to scare the shit out of me, and from everything I see, that's exactly what that. I actually enjoy the way they handled it in the game Until Dawn. Because although they did have the monsters, as you can tell from my opening slide, where I used a screenshot of their version of the Wendigo, they do actually have the actual monsters. And this is a spoiler, I guess. I'm sorry. If you're watching this channel, I assume you've already played it, or if you have not, go check it out, because even though I'm spoiling it, it's awesome. They also handle the more psychological aspects of what the Wendigo is and what it represents in that game. Again, I'm not going to play it, but I highly recommend it. It looks fantastic if you're into that kind of thing, the horror movies, and being scared shitless by a video game. I, again, am a chicken shit. They're mentioned apparently in the Legend of the Dragon. Secret World, apparently they have an entire mission revolving around Wendigos. Apparently they're also in Dungeons and Dragons. My Little Pony, we're going back to television shows here. My Little Pony had a version of the Wendigo, sort of, kind of. They're Wendigos or whatever. They're basically, from what I saw, they were beings transparent, and they were beings of the winter winds, where they were creating blizzards and such. I did not actually write down what episode it was, because apparently I was not prepared to do that, and so just go watch My Little Pony. I recommend it. I do. It's not my favorite depiction of the Wendigo, but it's up there. Now, the next, I'm going to go back to movies, because we're jumping around. I don't have a format. This is me rambling. You'll get used to it. Anyway, so we're going back to movies, and the one movie in particular that I actually enjoyed the way they handled the whole Wendigo thing from the perspective of more cultural. I can't speak. Cultural. No, I'm just going with it. It's actually the 2013 Lone Ranger. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. Because I know a lot of people have a lot of issues with the way that Johnny Depp depicted Tonto, which I don't know why, because the movie itself actually addresses this point when we speak to the actual Native Americans, who basically say, dude's crazy. Dude's crazy. His mind is broken. We just go with it. Anyway, so in the Lone Ranger, spoilers, Tonto, because I'm using his movie name, Tonto describes the bad guy as a Wendigo, which I can see why, considering all the terrible, terrible things that sick bastard does. And he wouldn't be far off, except obviously the gentleman in question is he's just a really bad guy. And we come back to the silver, because he makes the bullet out of the silver Texas Ranger stars. Which, I guess, I haven't really been able to find anything that actually specifies that they're weak or susceptible to silver, but it is what it is. Because Johnny Depp does believe in the first 2/3 of the movie that he is in fact a Wendigo, until the end, and they're on the train and he's like, you're not a Wendigo, you're just a douche. And, that's basically the movie. But they did handle the fact that it was more of a psychological issue. Even when the chief is explaining what happened to Tonto when he was younger, and then him associating the bad guys that tricked him and so basically killed his entire village over the silver watch, was the Wendigo, because that's how a looked like maybe 10-year-old child came to terms with what happened. Obviously, wasn't a Wendigo. It was a very bad thing that happened because they decided to kill people over silver. Like, the West was a terrible place. I don't think for a moment that shit didn't actually happen. That's abrupt end, but that's really all I have to say about the Wendigo. I haven't used this creature in any of my stories. As I said, I wasn't wholly familiar with it. I don't actually have a lot of Native American folklore in any of the stories I've written or am writing, because it's one of those things I don't want to butcher. Like elves and fairies and werewolves and vampires, it's not impossible, but it is difficult to butcher them because they are so widely seen and so widely done, whereas Wendigos are part of a cultural heritage. There's stories about them. And it's one of those things that I'm not comfortable using that particular monster because I'd want to do it justice, and I'm a perfectionist, and we all know the story would never get written because I'm a perfectionist. And yeah, it wouldn't happen. Alright, so Wendigos, they're done. We can say it. And yes, I realize that this video is coming in a week earlier than I said it would, and you know what? Deal with it. When my child is not home, I record videos. That's what we've come to. So now, the fun part, we go back to the Jar of Doom. Yep. Ooh. Can't accuse me of cheating at this if you see me doing it. La la la. Nope, two, nope, just one. So, from the creature jar, which I kept calling a character jar in my intro, but who cares? Open it up. Open it, open it, open it. And next week... Apparently next week we're doing angels. This one might lose me some of those. Lovely! I think there's like 12 subscribers at the moment, and I'm kind of excited by it, but at the same time... angels. Till next time, I'm Bacteria. Thank you for watching, and this was Mythical Creature Comforts.